50 million Africans. And yet still they're telling you that Hitler was the one that's the most heinous. This white man is about a death cult. That's all he knows. Even the woman, what's her name? I forgot her name. She said that the white man didn't ever bring a damn thing to civilization. He never even brought religion. Matter of fact, everything that they're worshiping now, this Jesus the Christ and the whole 9 yards, was a black religion. They had no religion. You are the ones that are the saviors of humanity, and they fear that because they would no longer exist. Their whole mentality would die, and that is what you see today. Everything about what the European brings is a death cult. And the only time that you see the peace that they're having is because their people who are benefiting from it are saying, you know what, it's enough blood. I'm tired. Let me put my sword up. You want me to go kill more people? Why is it that the United States has over 150 different military bases around the planet, more than anybody else on the planet? Does Russia have any kind of military bases on our soil? Does China? Oh, China now, yeah, because they're bringing China up through the southern border, and they're housing them in the military bases because they're the ones who have cut in. Because you got to remember, Mao Zedong was actually trained by the Jesuits.
Right.
And that so-called communism was actually from the Jesuits.
Right.
So you have to understand what's happening. We're under attack. It's a subtle form of attack, but they're using all the different points. You're not just using one weapon. It's psychological, of course. And they had to get to the one that would underpin our total civilization, and that is, and they hate to say it, but they hate me for saying it, and that's the woman.
Doc, let me ask you this, Doc. So one of the things that I get out, I've been interviewing you for years. So one of the things I've seen people say when I interview you and they hear how you talk, and they're like, wow, but they're like, that's a white man talking. They're like, who? Not everybody, but I'm saying some people be like that. Wow, why is this white man talking like that? I want to ask you, being that, considering what and you've talked before about, your the blood and your lineage, and the Caucasian and your lineage, and we all mixed.
Yeah.
But you've talked directly about your white blood.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel being the founder, one of the pioneers in this metaphysical movement, and having so much white blood running through you? Considering that you say what you say, Doc, but you have been as successful as you have been with the bloodline that you have.
Yeah.
Do you give credit to that bloodline the same bloodline that you criticize, or do you feel as though that bloodline is irrelevant to all your accomplishments because you are an extremely accomplished metaphysical elder in the black community? What's your thoughts on that, my brother?
Well, West Indies, where I come from, the West Indies, which my family is West Indian, they all mixed up. I'm talking about Chinese, Indian, black, white. It's actually a cornucopia.
Okay.
And a mixture. That's where I come from.
Okay.
I looked at somebody asked me, because I'm dealing with the blood right heirs now, which is going to be very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did the 23andMe, I found out it goes all the way back. I will go all the way back to what's his name, the pharaoh. That I have the blood of Ramesses II.
Okay. Okay.
Because I know he had like 230 children. Same thing with what's his name, Genghis Khan.
230?
Yeah, 230 children. Yeah.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah. So, and we are migrants. We go back and forth, and so what you're looking at back and forth, and if you're dealing with lineages, my lineage, I remember I saw my aunt, and she was Tutsi. And my aunt was laying on a bed, and she was like 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2". And I remember walking. I was little, and I remember walking from her feet. It looked like it took me years just to get to where she was at her head, because she was so tall. Also, I have Fulani, but of course, I have also Portuguese or Portuguese. and that's the white part of me.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Was I think I showed everybody that too. Showed you his picture as well, and he as the as d- a Indian who was from the from the Indian. I'm not talking about an Indian over here. I'm talking about an Indian in India.
Mm-hmm.
He's from that. He married my my grandmother, who was Portuguese.
Okay.
And that's where I get the light skin from because he's dark skin. He's really deep dark
Right.
skin.
Right.
So
Okay.
I mean, I can't help where I come from, but I know my mother was staunch, hated that because when a lot of the kids used to come, used to say, "Well, you got that good hair." My mother would go ape shit. What do you mean good hair? What's good and what's bad about the hair? Because
Mhm.
you can't turn it white? What's that? So my mother was the one who was the activist. She was there. My father was the historian. He
Mhm.
read the books. He got me into reading.
Ah.
My mother was the staunch. She was down with the Panthers,
Mhm.
and she was down with Sonny Carson
Mhm.
with with supporting his thing, and Walter Stewart. All these people were the ones that were fighting for the community.
Indeed.
So, well, like I was saying to you, man, my white skin, if they say I'm white, is because they don't know what light skinned niggas look like. I can show you some white, and that's what's pissed me off because the NBA got a whole lot of light skinned white niggas, and these people are taking over. They do it. You see what what's his name did at the slam dunk contest? That you can't have light skinned niggas doing that because after Michael Jordan, you're supposed to be only having black people playing. That's ridiculous. Y'all need to grow the up.
Right. Right. Right.
Ridiculous.
Excellent. Let's get to a couple of questions before we get out of here, Doc.
Sure.
Once again, before we get out of here, we got you. You can support Doc on PayPal, Zelle. King Simon got some links going on in the chat. Doc has a website. He has a homeschool. He has a 1-800 number. I mean, it's all right there in the chat. I'm gonna have it in the description as well. His wife, Dr. Nalani, has a book also.
Oh
Can
yeah.
you tell the people about that real quick before we
Very
get
quick.
a couple of questions from the
Very
people?
quick.
Yeah.
Mama Nalani had a rare form of cancer. I don't know if it was given to her or where it came up from, but she suddenly actually died in my arms. That's a story that was in the book, and I had to revive her. But because of the lifestyle she led, the doctor said that she had the infrastructure, the genetics, as well as uh, the cord, the blood, and the organ of a 23-year-old, and we're in our 70s. And so she was able to do what she did by going through all of what she did, the chemotherapy, dying and coming back. And that book is like a page turner about how she went through all of that. And it helps people who have been in that. And also, we're also talking about another product that we're dealing with that deals directly with the metabolic syndrome that causes obesity, high blood pressure, and all of those things. And if they want to, they can call her directly at 646-510-6702. And that's to deal with the unicity. And it's called a metabolic syndrome that's causing all of the diseases that we in the Black community are suffering from right now. So we're dealing with the Juice Plus, and we're dealing with both the unicity. And I think that you need to call her, especially if you're having problems with high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, all of the different things that they say are endemic and intrinsic to Black culture and Black community. So I would suggest you call her. And also, you can deal with it in the book, because in the book itself, there are ways for you um, uh, to access that as well. Thank you, King Simon, once again.
Indeed, yeah. Shout out to King Simon. Let's get to a question from the family. And before I move on, family, I'm serious about making sure you support this elder. I want us to be intentional about our words. Yeah, we take care of each other. We take care of our elders. This is the perfect opportunity. Don't just let it be a fancy slogan. Don't just let it be something that you just say just to say. And listen, our time down here is limited, family. A lot of us don't make it to 100. If we do, that's absolutely amazing. I would love Doc to make it to 100, but once our folks get up in there in age, we got to make sure we want to make life as comfortable as possible for them, especially if they put in the work. This brother right here has put in over 40 years of hardcore work for the community, metaphysical. Before it was cool, before this whole the term New Age was invented, this brother was out here giving old age information. You know what I'm saying? Before the New Age, he was giving old age information. Listen, his PayPal, kemitearth@gmail.com. His website, his school, his phone number. We're gonna have it all in the description. We have it on the screen right now. King Simon also has it in the chat. Please, family, make sure you support this elder right here who has been doing so much for us throughout the years. And let's get to a question. Shout out to Ascendant Infinite Goddess with the super chat. She says, "Peace, gods. Good to see you, Dr. Phil. I thought of you about 2 days ago, and here you are in all your brilliance." Question: what does your shirt say? I know it's something wild. Hey, before the show, I said the same thing. Doc, what does your shirt say, Doc? Show
All right, okay. It says roses are red. Kamala's not black. Joe has dementia. And Hunter's on crack.
Doc, that ain't right. Come on, man. You know that ain't right, Doc. Why you had to wear that, man? Come on, man.
You know I got to broadcast any way I can. If I'm going to be a human billboard, I'm going to say the truth.
Come on. You threw shots at Hunter, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You got a Hunter, Kamala, and Doc,
all of them. The entire cult.
Oh man, let's get to the next one, man. Let's get to the next question. And I'm glad this person asked this because I just seen an article saying that Warren Buffett cashed out. This question says, why do you think Warren Buffett cashed out? The head of the stock exchange cashed out. The dollar is dead, y'all. It's not a question, it's a comment. But I heard he's like taking all his money out of a lot of places. What's going on, Doc?
Redistribution.
Okay.
He knows, he's a futurist. He knows where the money is going to be made.
Okay.
And so he's into Bitcoin. He's going into XRP. He bought up a crap load of XRP. He's getting ready to go into the new forms of technology, which is he's dealing with the electrical or EV type of technologies. He's also dealing with the food industry because now they're consolidating the food industry to become more privatized, which is what Kamala and them are getting ready to do because Bill Gates and I think it was Bill Gates as well as Zuckerberg and who else was that? The guy who did Amazon. What was his name? Or in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And of course, everything that is created is God. You too. So when they speak about the Spirit, you're talking about an aspect of the matter that you represent. And so when we speak about that, spirit now, I say, is time. Time is an element. Without it, nothing exists. And they're only now coming to that. We've been speaking to this 30 years. Time is an element like fire, air, water, and earth. It is the cohesive element that creates what we see as third density or even the other densities, because fourth density deals with another time signature. Fifth density deals with another time signature, which is based upon frequency and the spin orientation of the particle. This is all the stuff that your boy, what's his name, Terrence Howard is trying to say. He ain't doing nothing. You, me, Dr. Blair, Bobby Hemmett. He's now trying to tell everybody, here's what the solution is, and they try to shut him down, tell him he's a fool. Meanwhile, they push this asshole by the name of what's his name, Neil deGrasse or Neil the Ass Tyson, as the person who is the new Einstein that's teaching everybody. He's a fool. He is a clown. Last person you need to listen to.
Doc, so listen, so I don't know if you've seen it, but Terrence Howard did this epic interview with Billy Carson.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but
he
I
was on,
didn't see
he was on Billy Carson's channel. They did an interview together. I mean, there was over 12,000 people in the chat. It was a big deal.
beautiful.
And I didn't know what level, Terrence is in Hollywood. I didn't know what level of consciousness he was gonna go in on the
Yeah,
platform. But he started talking about he was talking about how they're trying to block him, and
yeah,
he was saying how they shouldn't be surprised because he has a 9 DNA sequence and every other race has a 6 DNA sequence,
yeah,
and how the descendants of Africa is having, and we've all heard this before, but
yeah.
I didn't know he was going to go there on
I
Billy's
didn't want
channel.
to tell you that too.
Yeah,
That I have a 9. I
yeah,
have a 9 with the first going
I,
into 12.
I need you to elaborate on that because I didn't know he was going to go there. But talk to me about this whole, because I hear about the 9 ether versus the 6 ether, and I
Yeah,
think Dr. York talked about that. But tell
yeah.
me about what he meant by he has a 9 DNA sequence in the other races
At
outside of
6,
Africa. Yeah, I
they're
said,
closer to the simian.
talk to me.
They're closer to the chimpanzee. We are not. Those are derivative qualities. Those are the derivative creations. Those are the ones that were experiments on the DNA. So I, along with others, the European man is trying to create technologies to bring him to a 12 DNA strand,
Okay.
which is really him just giving you a higher form of his own, how do I say it, deformed self. Actually, if you're looking at the amount of DNA that we have that we're supposed to actually braid, to actually have our God self together, to breathe, to access the frequencies, you have to deal with the amount of uh, what do you call it? Um, what is the Jewish alphabet? The Jewish alphabet has how many figures? How many characters? How many characters does the Jewish alphabet have?
How many?
Okay, we have. We're supposed to have 34 to 44 strands of DNA. Everything that you see as far as the is more than 34. Let me see. Let me get. It's. I'm trying to find out. Trying to remember how many of the DNA. I mean, how many of the 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 what is it? The Kabbalah and the Jewish letters that they hid the DNA information in. Um, that DNA strand, the strands that we have, what we call the junk DNA, is supposed to be threaded based upon our accessing higher levels through what we call consciousness accretion. Consciousness accretion is supposed to give you energy patterns directly from other consciousness as well as dimensional sequences to give you the necessary information to braid the junk into the necessary amount of braided DNA to bring you to the higher levels of consciousness. Some of us have already come back with that, as for your brother Terrence.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't say that because then I become a target. But then you have to understand that some have come back to teach people how to braid that necessary amount of DNA so that you can start picking up energy patterns from higher frequencies that would then download to feed your DNA patterns to braid the junk into the necessary helixes that would then give you that would ignite the lamp of God or Gad. Gad is Jewish for the head. It was actually the lamp of Gad that taketh away the sins of the world. The lamp that is the pineal that lights or illuminates the ignorance. And to do that, you have to raise Kundalini. But to raise Kundalini safely, you have to have a higher and more tensed, how do you say, tension or tension? And if you're looking at architecture and you're dealing with, you know, setting up bridges, they set up tension or tensor wires. Well, the DNA has to become a tensor wiring in order to channel the amount of energy without burning you up, without destroying the nerve endings that would be necessary for you to raise that kundalini up. So most of what we see today, most of what we are not dealing with today, is the fact that I got drawn a blank for the amount, and I think the people out there, please research the amount of alphabetic letters or the alpha beta letters that constitute the Jewish calendar, or the, what do you call it, the Kabbalah, and that's the amount of DNA, that's the amount of strands in the DNA that you need. Huh? my wife is trying to give me some 22. I'm sorry, not 34. Thank you, darling. She's reading from me. Yeah, it's the 22 strands. I'm sorry, it's 22 strands. That's why 22 is such a powerful number.
Yeah,
11. So the 22 strands. The first 12, and then from there is the next 10 that has to bring up the 22 strands that are braided together, and from that point you begin to braid the original spiritual body begins to come and descend. In other words, the part of you that's your higher spiritual self begins to reacclimate to your body and lift you up and give you that knowledge.
Indeed. All right. Greetings, Dr. Valentine. Is Glint Pay still a legit investment? And is it any way you can convert it to physical gold?
Yes, you have to request the physical gold. What you have to do is you get in contact with Glint Pay, and they will then connect you directly to your website or to your account, and then you can purchase through the account. I'm connected directly to the account, so that I purchase. What I do is I upload monies, fiat, to their site, and from there go over and purchase the gold, so that my balance is based upon the movement of gold. So I have, like, say, if I have money that constitutes $2,500, and then gold suddenly goes up, I look into my balance and it's $2,800. That's because I put it into the gold site, and then the fluctuations of gold and its worth is supposed to go up to $5,000 an ounce very soon in order to compensate for what's getting ready to happen to the dollar. Yes, so what you do is you get up on glintpay.com, and you can request the gold to be sent directly to your door.
Wow. Right to the door.
Right to your door.
Excellent.
And I won't say anything else regarding that with me.
Indeed. We're going to do about 2 more questions, and then we're going to get out of here. Once again, shout out to King Simon. I can't stress enough all the links that Dr. Phil Valentine has. If you want to support him, his Zelle is important. You go Zelle the brother at Sanu777 at Gmail, PayPal, Commit Earth, his IG. You can see what he got going on IG. His websites, as well as his contact number, is on the screen now. King Simon, shout out to King Simon. He is also sharing it in the chat. All right. Let's get to 2 more questions before we get out of here. You know, and there was a I probably might save my question. I'm gonna see how it goes, because I got a question for Doc. I might save it for the next show. I might just do your questions tonight. But let's get to this next question. Can you reconstruct your DNA through change of lifestyle or environment?
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Your DNA that you're born with is not a prison sentence. It's not a sentence. Your mind is connected to the DNA, and the DNA is connected to your mind.
That's epigenetics, right?
Yes, epigenetics. They call it epigenetics,
yeah.
But essentially it's nothing more than your body being in tune with mind. Mind over matter.
Yes.
And remember, when the body is in pain, or when the mind is in pain, forgive me, the body cries out. So your mind is everything. It is the controller. So what you do is you can actually, I tell people, my students, to set up a picture of a healthy DNA helix. And just as you would then in your religion, your faith, if you're dealing with Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, whatever, put that up there and you meditate on that. You're giving instructions through your brain, because your eyes are nothing more than extensions of your brain. You're
Indeed.
giving
Indeed.
instructions to your brain to say and tell the brain that, listen, as the controller of the body, the governor of all that my body is about, at the infrastructural level, this is how I want my DNA to be, to act, and to connect with me. And that meditation of maintaining that visual is what the DNA in your cells begin to align with.
That's self-government right there.
There it is, to the highest level.
Shit. No, that's real.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that, Doc. All right. All right. Next question. I want to ask this question. Do you think the depopulation agenda, oh wow, this is interesting, is coming from spiritual realm due to us falling short of our true stewardship of the earth?
Wow. Come on with it, brother. I love it.
I like that one. I like that one, yo.
Mudi Mud, or you call yourself Mudi Mud. Excellent question.
I like that one.
Yeah, well, you have to remember who took over at this point. The depopulation agenda is essentially the earth itself giving instructions to these people to become what they really are. They can't hide behind the screen of their, so-called munificence. Everything is wonderful and beautiful, and we are here with freedom and justice for all. That's all a lie now. It's all bullshit. And what has to happen is the true demon behind all of that has to come to the surface. And as he comes to the surface, he becomes more brutal. And as he becomes more brutal, he becomes more of what it is that was festering, like sewage, at the basic consciousness of humanity. All of that has to erupt. The stink has to come out. It has to purge on the lawn for you to see that the grass is full of shit now. It wasn't. It was always underground, trying to be kept down. So what we call a depopulation agenda is the European using technology as the excuse to isolate him from the consequence of actually accepting people. Because you got to remember, white people don't want to mix. And they know that we are the basic majority on the planet. So he needs to create conditions and circumstances where his isolation mentality has to be secured. To do that, you have to destroy all means that would then have you to interface. So what does he do? He creates a technology that no longer needs human participation. The more you see him advance, the less humanity, which is darker than he is, the less of humanity participates in what he is now envisioning as the future for humanity, but not all humanity. He's getting ready to put you into projects with that have 50 and 60 stories, and you're going to live in these isolated places. He's creating technologies like the electric car so he could shut it down at any time while you're on the road. He's created these electric cars with a chip in it so that you can't go past certain barriers in your neighborhood. So everything is about him isolating you from him. That's all this technology is about. Some of it, of course, has to do with some good, he's holding back on the med beds. He's holding back on the red tint glasses that help your DNA and your body to become stronger and healthier. And I suggest that you do get the red lamps and do red lamp therapy. He's preventing you from eating the proper foods. He's packaging crap for your children. He's trying to tell boys that they're actually girls and girls that they actually can be boys. Everything to make sure that his existence is not encroached upon. because that's who he is. He is essentially the white blood cell, the disease in the body. And I know that people are saying, well, that doesn't mean, yeah, well, you've been mixing with black folks for the last 150, 250 years. Yeah, some of us going to rub off on you. Look at what it is that you've done. Everything you see have you looked on television? Have you looked on the apps and seen these white children and Asian children from around the world dancing black? They dance black, they act black, they dress black. Black man, as a young man and as a boy, has been the employer, the cultural employer for the entire goddamn planet. But we don't make no money off of it. Because they control that. They control our talents. They control everything that we do so that we do not benefit from it, which is why they're trying to kill this boy, Maxwell Chikumbutsu. But good question. As far as depopulation, yeah. But you got to remember, too, that the reason why the white man is not populating and not creating and not doing what he does, because the spiritual energy is getting ready to kick his ass. It's doing it to the Japanese, too, because the Japanese participated in genocide. All who participated in genocide, they are going to be removed from the consciousness, from the human consciousness stream. The whites, the Asians that are Japanese, all of them are going to be removed. All of that particular genetic strain is going to be removed. You're not going to see too many of them. Or they're going to blend with the genetics. That's why they want blacks. That's why they all come to blacks. That's why black men can go overseas right now and they just love them. I don't care how you look. You can have some of the worst features that the women would never see you over here. You go over there. They can't wait to mate with you. Because they know exactly who you are, brother.
Doc, one last question before we get out of here. I'm gonna ask the question. You just talked about, we hear this concept of as above, so below. You talked about, these individuals committing these atrocities in our world, essentially being the white blood cells in our body. And we hear about the microbiome, and we hear about God being in the gut. And I hear about, Doc, the heart, the idea of heart-brain coherence and the heart connecting with the brain to create your reality. I want to know about the heart-gut coherence. And that's something we don't hear about is, we got a heart and we have this innate, this feeling, this innate, this emotion about who we are and what we represent, this instinct about what we represent. And I want to know, how does that relate to our gut and our diet at that same time, Doc? Because I hear about the heart brain, but I don't hear enough about the heart gut. So can you talk to me about what I will call heart gut coherence, Dr. Valentine?
Well, yeah. Again, heart gut, you're talking around the areas of the liver, the kidneys. You're not just talking about the gut. In the gut that has that crunches the components of life to distribute throughout the body, there is a direct set of glands called Pryor's glands that directly connects the large intestines and small intestines to the breast of the female. And when a woman is feeding her child, she's feeding the child from the biometrics of life that come directly from the gut. The gut itself has a brain. It's based in the foundation, the thinking of foundational principles. In other words, your rent, survival. What is it that's necessary also about life? Because this particular brain, when they talk about, this is the light, this is earth, this is life. There's four different light. This is the light brain, this is the life brain, and this is the form brain, and this is down here with the sexuals is the physical brain. So these are the different light frequencies that are fed and distributed based upon your melanin and the foods that you eat and so forth. The heart is not a pump, it's a regulator. That's why it's what was chosen by the ancient Kemites to be judged. Everything that you have from your colon and around this area, the form, remember down here is the form plane. The different planes, form, life plane, light plane. For down where the sexual organs are is the physical plane. Then again, the form plane. This is where everything is formed. Your idea about life, babies in the mother, and everything that you have as your opinion, especially the forming of your body and the forming of health and vitality, is all in this area.
Mm.
And so when you're dealing with the form plane versus the life plane, which is around the lungs and the heart, because they're connected directly to one another almost. The lungs and the heart are connected.
Mm-hmm.
And the lungs are the pump.
Mm-hmm.
The heart is the regulator.
Mm-hmm.
So it regulates and it changes the blood in accordance with your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on how you think, people who have problems with their guts are based upon people who are worried about material gains, or the fact that they can't get their rent together, or their relationships are screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the heart conducts or is actually being influenced by the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, this person who is suffering for or having a hard time dealing with their life purpose and being able to live comfortably and worrying about where the next rent comes from, this is why they start getting acid reflux and all of that in their system. And then that then affects the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens? This is the area where your liver, which is the cleanser, the blood cleanser. The liver cleans the blood before it gets to the heart. But most people don't allow the liver to actually rest, which is what they need to do to sleep during the hours of 11 through 5. That's when the liver is actually doing its best to consolidate all the poisons and to be able to get rid of it through the kidneys and through the elimination organs, but to clean the blood before it gets to the heart. But it's not being allowed to, which is why you get high blood pressure. High blood pressure comes because the liver is the seat of anger, anxiety, fear with the kidneys connected with this anger. That also disrupts the function of the liver so that the liver cannot clean the blood before it gets to the heart. So the heart needs to race faster to get the poisons that the liver didn't clean past the heart so it doesn't damage it. Plus, you got to remember too that the heart is the seat of the soul, not the brain. It is the heart is at the sino-auricular node, they used to call it. The part that goes clear, boom. It gets that part when they try to get you to start, that's the place where the soul sits.
Wow. Doc, man, hey, there's a reason why you've been around for so long. Great way to bring Doc back on the show. He hasn't been on the show in such a long time. I want to thank everybody for their questions. I want to thank Doc for coming on tonight. It's been an honor, as always, having you on the platform. And with that being said, once again, leave your contact info for the family so they can reach out to you, Dr. Valentine.
Okay, well, 800-847-1291. That's our public. 800-847-1291. My wife's number, for those of you who wish to get with and understand the metabolic syndrome that is causing all of our diseases, is 646-510-6702. Once again, 646-510-6702. You can call her for not only the unicity and the book as well, if you wanted to deal with it, because her book, you can go to newlifeneardeath.com. And those of you, I wanted to remind, those of you who did not receive your package from her, make sure you call her, because they've been slow to get the packages out. And a lot of people are not, have been asking, where are their packages? Call Dr. Nalani, and she'll fast track that to you as soon as possible. The other thing too, I do metaphysical consultations. I still do the the how do I say it without getting you in trouble?
Exemption.
Yeah,
Exemption.
exemption forms. I
Exemption.
did exemption forms for those of the people who are living in those blue states that are, trying to force you to do A, B, and a third.
Mhm.
But like I said, before you think about, you know, dealing with Kamala, think about the mafia boss you want to deal with that's going to be able to help you to do what you need to do, and look at the history of both of them. I know they got something coming up. They got a
Debate. Debate.
coming up, and they're going to actually have people on there that's going to do everything they can to shut down the fact that she don't know what the hell she's talking about, that
Mm.
she's trying to tell you she's getting ready to run to be president to clean up the crap that she and Biden had created, which doesn't make any sense. If you're still in office, why don't you do it now?
Mm.
But again, that's me just looking at reason and logic and trying to impart that. But brother, once again, I thank you, as I thank brother King Simon.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that my son also is doing rehabilitation. Send some prayers out there for him, because of what they did to him. Waves that we see and the conductivity, what we talk about consciousness.
Mm.
Consciousness essentially is the is water. If
Mm.
you understand, I can't explain it uh, down to the microbe, but I can give you an idea.
Mhm.
Everything that you're breathing is water.
Mhm.
Everything I keep telling you that the air you breathe is a form of qualified water.
Mhm.
What you're looking at in your mind, you're looking through a lens that's filled with water. In other words, your eyes are actually a ball that contains water that's actually filtering through the spectrum to
Mm.
give you the sight that you are seeing right now.
Mhm.
So everything is water. Water is the conveyor of consciousness. In fact, your brain is something like 83 to 85,
Right.
even up to 90% water.
Right.
So what you're looking at is this one drop of water now, the scientists have found, contains like something like 5 to 6 terabytes of information. If you want to break it down to dealing with computer language. But water is the medium through which the creator is represented as the mind. In other words, universal mind or cosmic mind, essentially. And when they talk about consciousness, the only way that consciousness can actually be conveyed is through a medium that can actually bear or at least carry the word or the intentions of the Most High into all of its creations. So what we look at as water, and we see in its liquid sense, or if it's iced over to become hard, or it is dealing as a vapor, all of it is water.
Mhm.
But you don't. But we only see another aspect of water. We only see the three aspects of water. We see it as ice, liquid, and
Okay.
gas. But
Yeah.
we don't see it as the gas that's another refined form of it, which we breathe, which we call oxygen. So when you're dealing with water, water then becomes what is called the divine neurotransmitter of consciousness. So it's actually the neurotransmission of Earth. It's the neurotransmitter of Earth. It's Earth's neurotransmitter. So when Earth essentially communicates through to other plants or to its animals, it's communicating through a medium of water.
Mhm.
Breathing and communicating, the only way that sound can actually be conveyed as we're dealing with that, it can't be conveyed in a vacuum.
Mhm.
So what is that then? What is this medium here? This medium is another form of qualified water, which is what's vibrating. Where I'm vibrating from here to vibrate the sound wave patterns through the medium of the air, and you're picking it up basically through, an amplified form, which is your microphone.
Mhm.
But the consciousness, when the presence of the Most High is to be everywhere at once.
Mhm.
It's everywhere in the form of a qualified aspect of water.
Mhm.
And
And
it's so simplified to say that water is, we use the word water and water. I bathe in water, I drink water, and we don't think about water in its divine
Mhm.
volume, its divine.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned the different states of water because I have an interesting question. You talked about water being a solid, you talked about water being a liquid, you talked about water being a gas. Those are three states of water.
Mhm.
There's so much research and there's so much information on the web now. And structured water is a hot topic right now in terms of
Right.
drinking water. So they're saying that structured water is the fourth state of water because within structured water, the cellular structure or molecular structure turns is the water is arranged in a crystalline form. So they're
Mhm.
saying structured water is the fourth state that is rarely talked about, but is now being talked about. So what do you think about that?
See, that's the thing now.
Mhm.
They're getting into metaphysics, and this is
Yes,
where they come into our realm.
yes,
And
yes.
what it is you're dealing with, they're pre-structuring it
Hmm.
to deal with the crystalline matrix of your blood.
Hmm.
In other words, your body, through your mind, you set up a vibratory pattern
Hmm.
that then begins to qualify the water into the very crystalline form that you see them structuring. You
Hmm.
structure the water into your body as you breathe in, and
Hmm.
when the breathing goes in, and right up here, there are these different holes, these different patterns that you have within your skull, that's
Hmm.
in your nasal, and as you breathe in, your consciousness is being qualified by how you are breathing in the water and qualifying it into the crystalline matrix based upon where your brain is. You see how close this is to your brain? Well,
Hmm.
what you're doing is as you're breathing it in, your thought process,
Hmm.
your attitude, your consciousness,
Hmm.
everything that you think about,
Hmm.
all of that is qualifying the air, which is water,
Hmm.
into the crystalline matrix that just fills out what your thoughts are about in you.
Hmm.
So what most people are not looking at is what the people today, science is now pre-qualifying the water